business cycle. Just give the heading business cycle. What happens is that these are the 4 stages in business cycle: boom period, recession period, depression period, recovery period. I will define them, but please draw this diagram and write accordingly. Boom period, when your economy is at the top. Depression is when your economy is at the lowest level. Recession is when your economy is moving from boom to depression, and recovery is when your economy is moving from depression to boom. Have you drawn the diagram? Can I start the explanation? Can I start the explanation? Okay. Now, yes. Okay. So, boom period is the time when your economy is at very good stage. That is, your output is increasing, income is increasing, employment in the economy is increasing. Everything is increasing and your economy is growing at a very rapid pace. Now what happens is that when your economy grows at a very rapid pace, then people become very optimistic about the economy. They will incur huge investment spending. Okay, government spending will be huge, consumption will be huge, aggregate demand will be huge, supply will be huge. Everything will look very optimistic. But what happens is that every economy has a potential beyond which it cannot increase in a given period of time. Suppose you started your preparation for civil service exam. Initially you are very enthusiastic. You will study say 16 hours, 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. But that is not sustainable, right? But there is no automatic switch that functions in the economy. So when the economy grows or when things look optimistic, then it is the tendency of the people to make it over optimistic. That is, they will be too bullish on the economy. That economy will keep on growing at a higher rate for infinite period of time. This is what people will think. And as a result, everything will look good. Output will increase, employment will increase, heavy borrowing will be done. All this thing will happen. But there is a point beyond which economy will not grow, no matter how much optimistic you are. Now that point beyond which your economy will not grow is an invisible line. Nobody can see that. Okay. Only when you cross that line and you look backward, then you will be able to realize that you have crossed that line. Okay. Because when your efforts will not bring desired result, then you will realize that you have crossed that line. Until and unless your effort keeps on giving you result, you will not realize that you have crossed the full potential. Point is, every economy has a full potential that at a given period of time, this is the full potential. I can only produce 100 units. I can only produce 200 units. So there is a full potential. But when your economy is growing, nobody is able to see that full potential. They think that 200 can be stretched to 300, 400, 500. So as a result, producer, consumer, everybody is optimistic in the economy. So economy is at the boom. But the point, the moment where you cross that invisible line, where you have stretched over the full employment level or the level beyond which your economy cannot grow, your economy will start slipping into recession. Because what will happen, after boom period, your supply will be much greater than demand. Okay? When your supply will be much greater than demand, then what will happen? Prices of the goods will start falling. And when prices of the goods will start falling, it will result in fall in output, because demand supply has to match demand. So in order to pull demand, supply will keep on falling, and as a result your economy will slip into deflation. Or even if your economy will not slip into deflation, your prices and output will keep on falling. That is, if you cross the level of full employment, your economy will again start curtailing the production, because economy has to come back to full potential. So as a result, what will happen? Your economy will start going down. This going down thing is called recession. That is, your economy is producing less year after year, quarter after quarter, or month after month. And then, for a longer period of time, people will be pessimistic. The way they were highly optimistic, they will be pessimist. The period in which they will be pessimist and they will let the production remain at a low level, or they will not increase the production, that period is depression. Here what will happen? Your output will be low, employment will be low, income will be low. Okay? Everything will be pessimistic in this situation. Now, in the situation of depression, what government will do? They will again try to make the economy optimistic. So here what they will do, they will make the interest rate cheaper so that people spend more money. Okay? They will give tax break to producer so that producer increases their production. As a result, in this stage, government will try to increase demand, aggregate demand, and they will try to increase aggregate supply, so that if the demand and supply will increase, their economy will grow. Because what happens is that this boom was the time, this point is that invisible line beyond which your economy cannot grow. But people were optimistic, so they invested in the economy more than the full potential. That's why their economy started slipping down. Now, when depression will come, then again there is a level which your economy can sustain. But people cannot see that line. So they will be too pessimist. So even if there is demand of 200 commodities, they will produce only 100 commodity, because they are afraid that they cannot sell even 200 commodity. So if they were too optimistic in the boom period, they will be too pessimist in the depression period. So your economy will perform much below full potential. Now government can see that your economy is performing much below full potential. So again government or policy makers will take step to boost your economy so that demand increases and supply increases. So slowly what will happen is your economy will start recovering from depression. Again slowly output will increase, employment will increase, income will increase. And again this recovery will suddenly cross the full potential, that is boom period, and it will slip into recession. So this cycle will keep on happening in every economy. At some point of time your economy will be in boom, at some point of time it will be in depression, it will be in recession, at some stage it will be at recovery stage. Is it clear? All the four stages clear to you? See, it is bound to happen. Let me take up one more concept after this, and then this cycle will be more clear to you. The point that I was talking about, invisible line, full employment, that will be more clear to you. Can I rub the diagram? Okay. Now give the next heading, inflationary gap and deflationary gap. Inflationary gap and deflationary gap. Now, do you remember that I have told you that equilibrium demand and supply, your equilibrium quantity will depend upon the demand and supply curve? Can you remember that the amount of goods that will be produced will depend upon this curve, the point where demand and supply meets? Yes. Okay. Now at that time I have only told this part. Now this is a hypothetical thing. Okay. Because there is no exact data that supplier will go and ask everybody that please tell me what is your demand, or people will go and ask supplier please tell me how much you will produce. So this is an expected thing that this should be the demand and this should be the supply. But this is not how economy functions. In economy there is one more line that has to be drawn. Now, every economy has something called full potential or economy operating at full employment. Okay, that line is straight like this. So, beyond this point, you cannot increase the output no matter whatever you do. Every economy at a given point of time operate at full potential. Operate at full potential means there is limitation to the growth. Beyond this, you cannot stretch in a given period of time. I'm not talking about 100 years or 50 years, but say for 5 years, next 10 years, you cannot stretch beyond this point. Okay, you need more time to increase this. See, this level increases. Okay, I'm not saying that this will never increase, but in a given period of time, it will remain fixed. When I'm talking about AD and AS curve, they are more flexible, but this is more rigid. Okay, this curve changes in the short run, but this curve will only change in the long run. That is, you can shift this curve from here to here only in 10-15 years. But that is not the case with ADAS. With tax break, you can increase supply, and with controlling interest rate or reducing interest rate, you can increase aggregate demand. So with short-term measures, you can change this curve, but with short-term measures, you cannot change this curve. It needs a longer period of time to shift from here to here. So in reality, this line always exists. These lines remind us that there is a limit beyond which your economy can never grow in a given period of time. Is this line clear to you? Is this straight line clear to you? So what do we call it? Economy operating at full employment. Now let's see about our demand and supply curve also. This is your AS. This is your AD. Now tell me one thing. If you do not know this line, if I have not told you about the full employment, then according to you, this should be the output. Yes or no? Yes, yes, same as full potential. Right? This should be the level of output. But tell me one thing, this is the line beyond which your supplier cannot produce goods. But this is the line where people are demanding. Tell me one thing, will supplier operate at this point or supplier will operate at this point? If this is A and this is B, at which point supplier will operate? At which point supplier will operate? Just listen to me once again. Okay, listen to me once again. This is the point beyond which your economy cannot operate. This is the point where demand will meet supply. Okay? But your economy cannot produce more than these goods. So, what will be the quantity of goods produced by supplier? Will the supplier produce the quantity at point A or at point B? Why point B? Why point B? No. Answer point B is correct, but reason is wrong. Why point B? Because I have told you this is full employment. At this point, supplier can see that I can increase my production from point B to point A because this is the potential of the economy. But he is restricted to point B. He cannot move to point A. Okay? Suppose I can teach 1000 students at a time, but the server is such that it can only cater to 100 students at a time. So if I want to increase or teach more students, I have to allot more number of batches. In one batch, I cannot teach more than 100 students. So potential, this supplier can see that the potential lies at point A because demand will meet here. But he is restricted to point B because your economy is operating at full employment. So he cannot go here. He have to stop his production at point B. Is it clear? See, earlier I have not told you about this line. So you knew that where demand will meet supply, that is the equilibrium quantity. But point is, this is a theoretical line, okay? Supplier will draw on the basis of their expectation and policymakers will draw on the basis of their expectation that this will be demand, this will be supply. So this is a hypothetical line, but once you crosses a year or once production has happened for a year, then you realize that this is my full potential. I thought that 200 goods will be demanded and produced, but my potential is 150. So no matter supplier sees this point and he is optimistic that I can increase my capacity from here to here, but he is restricted. He cannot cross this point. That's why this is called full employment. No matter how much, see, who is producing? It is the supplier in the economy who is producing. So it is, don't think about demand right now. Supplier has constraint. He cannot move this point because economy is operating at full employment. Is this part clear? Why supplier? Now tell me, if supplier cannot go beyond this point, then can I say that this gap represent excess demand? See, demand is nowhere at point B. Demand is at point A and point A is higher than point B. Can I say that this is excess demand in the economy? Ideally, can I say this is excess demand in the economy? Now, what will excess demand lead to? Will it increase the price or will it decrease the price? Excess demand will increase the price of goods or decrease the? It will increase the price because we have seen yesterday demand pull inflation. So it will increase the price. Now tell me one thing, will the increase in price, will the supplier will be able to increase the production? Even if the price will increase, will the supplier be able to increase the production? Can they go beyond point B at the moment? No. So can I say it will increase the price but there will be no growth? Can I say there will be increase in price but there will be no growth? If they cannot increase the production, there will be no growth. So can you recall there were two impacts of inflation? One, good impact, that is growth. So that is not going to happen. But there was one negative impact, that the purchasing power of the rupee will fall. So can I say that with increase in price, purchasing power will fall? Yes or no? So do you want this kind of inflation in which only purchasing power is falling but growth is not happening? Do you want this kind of situation? Nobody wants it. So what government should do? Government should try to kill the demand and bring the demand curve to this point. If the demand curve will come to this point, then what will happen? Your supply, demand and economy at full potential will meet here. This gap where your excess demand is created, this gap is called inflationary gap. Okay? This inflationary gap is not good because it will only increase the prices without any subsequent increase in growth, and purchasing power of the currency will fall. Is it clear? Is it clear? What is inflationary gap? It is clear to you? So, see, this is not a hypothetical situation. If I am telling you that increase in price will result in no growth, then you can see from this point, if people are demanding more goods than the potential of the economy, then see why there is this extra demand. There is extra demand because definitely RBI has printed more currency. If money supply increases, then only this situation will happen. Otherwise, this situation can never happen. So this situation is not good because price will increase here for goods, but it will never bring growth. Okay, because economy is already operating at full potential. So this is also a reality where economy does faces, and Indian economy has faced this situation in 2009 and 2010 when prices were rising but growth was not happening. So this is a true situation that happens in economy if money supply increases beyond a certain limit, that your price will increase but it will not be accompanied by growth. Is it clear? Is the concept of inflationary gap clear to you? Okay. Now again look at the diagram. This is point A, this is point B. Now tell me, at which point supplier will produce goods? At point A or point B? Please think and then tell me. This is point A, this is point B. At which point supplier will produce goods? At which point and why? Why? Both of you have to give me the reason. And what is your reason, Namrata? Even though potential is there. So what? See, answer point A is correct. I will tell you why. Tell me, Durga Prasad, at point B, do you see any demand? Very good. Just Durga Prasad, tell me, at point B, is there any demand? Is any consumer willing to work at point B? Your answer is not wrong. See, what will happen is that initially what you are saying is correct. Producer will produce at point B because they are able to see full employment. But they will not remain here. They will immediately shift to point A because look at the reason. They see the potential but they do not see demand. So though there is potential but they have no one whom they can sell the goods. So they will make a shift to point A. They will not remain at point B. After drawing this graph, they can see that they should produce at point B. They will make an attempt to do that. but they cannot produce at this point. They will immediately shift to point A because they know that aggregate demand is meeting supply at point A. So they will not produce more goods than point A. They have this potential, but they will not produce. Is it clear? Your answer is not wrong. It needs little bit modification. Potential is there, but there is no one who can buy. See, I can teach for 6 hours a day, but point is I also need that many students. Suppose if I only have student who will study for 2 hours, no matter I have the potential to teach for 4 hours, what will I do? I will curtail my production and I have to restrict it to 2 hours because 6 hours is not possible. No one is going to study for 6 hours. I only have that much student who will study for 2 hours. I have only one batch of student to study for 2 hours. I don't have more 2 batches. So if only one batch is running, I have to finish my production in 2 hours. For rest 4 hours, I will be sitting idle. Did you get my point? All of you got my point. So even if the potential is there, they will not be able to sustain at this level. So this situation of excess supply, what will happen? This excess supply will result in fall in price, and this fall in price will result in fall in output. So can you see fall in price plus fall in output was called deflationary gap. We called it deflation. Here it is deflationary gap. Why this is deflationary gap? Because this gap will create deflation in the economy. So what policymaker will do is they will try to increase this aggregate demand so that this curve shifts here. And if this curve will shift here, then your ADAS and economy at full employment will meet. So this deflation can be taken care of if this curve shifts from here to here. So here was aggregate demand, and if government knows that the potential is more, they will take steps to increase the demand. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is the point clear to you? Please let me know if it is clear or if you want me to repeat so that I can connect it with the previous topic. Okay. So have you seen one thing? Can I rub this part? Whatever I have written, can I rub it? Now there is one thing that is common which I have told you in both the cases. I have told you that sometime your demand will be here and sometime your demand will be here. Yes? So what will happen? When the demand is here, government or policy maker will try to bring, and when your demand is here, they will try to bring it here. So point is, when they are trying to bring your economy from this point to this point, rather than bringing it here, they will take it this point. And similarly, when they will want to bring it here, they will bring it to this point. So what will happen? This point will represent boom in your economy. And this point will represent depression in your economy. This point will represent recession in your economy. And this point will represent recovery in your economy. So actually when policy maker will function, then this is what will happen. From boom, rather than taking it to full employment, they will be controlling or they will be implementing such tight monetary and fiscal policy that rather than coming at full employment, your economy will come to depression. And when they will see that economy is at depression, they will again take steps to make the recovery to reach at full employment. But instead of coming here, they will take the economy to boom again. So this stage is recovery. This is recession. This point where we see inflationary gap is boom. This stage where we see deflationary gap is depression. Can you correlate this topic of inflationary deflationary gap with the previous business cycle topic? So I hope now that graphs looks more realistic to you, that how this happens, because government has to intervene to make sure that economy operates at full employment. They take the economy from boom to depression to boom to depression. Because see, ultimately there is no automatic switch which you can push, or you cannot put economy in an autopilot mode that you push a switch and automatically it will come to full employment. You take the measures, you see the result, and then you realize you have overstressed. Okay, is it clear? See, this is a very crucial topic because all the technical chapters which we will discuss, they will have some kind of background, they will require some kind of background knowledge about this thing, inflation, inflationary gap, interest rate. Because further when I will discuss monetary policy, then it is very much related to this, that why RBI emphasize so much on the interest rate to control inflation or deflation. Repeat once. I have taught you business cycle. So in business cycle, I told you economy move from boom to depression to recession recovery. So what I am trying to do is I am trying to correlate this. In inflationary gap, I have told you that ADAS will meet at a point above full employment. Yes or no? So at this point, I taught you that policy maker or government will try to bring down the AD to this level, right? Similarly, in case of deflationary gap, ADAS will meet below full potential. So policymaker will try to increase aggregate demand to this level. Correct? But economy does not function in an autopilot mode. When they will try to bring the economy from here to here, instead of bringing it at full employment, what will happen is they will stretch or they will kill demand to such an extent that the economy will start functioning at this point. So see, government will start from this point. They have to stop at this point, but they will continue and they will stop at this point, because at this point they will realize that they have surpassed the full potential and now they are operating below full potential. Similarly, when government will intervene in the case of depression, they will start recovery, but they have to stop at this point. But they will stretch the economy to the boom, and then they will realize that they have crossed the line of full employment and they have to come back. So point is, at boom and depression, government will intervene, but they will intervene to such an extent that economy will never function at full employment. It will keep on bouncing between boom and depression, boom and depression. So no matter which economy it is, every economy keeps on shifting from here to here to here. They will never operate at this level. Ideally, they should operate, but they will never operate. Your economy will make a jump from depression to boom and boom to depression. So when it is coming from boom to depression, we call that stage as recession. When it is going from depression to boom, we are calling it recovery. Ideally, economy should function here, but this line is invisible. So if it is invisible for you, invisible for me, it is invisible for policymakers also. So in search of this line, they will go till here, and again in coming back in searching for this line, they will go till here. So this is how your inflationary deflationary gap is related to the business cycle, or this explanation of inflationary deflationary gap gives you more confidence that this business cycle is not a hypothetical theory. It is a reality which happens in every economy. Okay? Ideally, you should study 8 hours a day. But some days you will study for 2 hours, some day you will study for 16 hours. So you are never able to study for 8 hours. Either you will, when you are not studying at all for some days, you will stretch yourself and study for too long. And when you have studied for too long, you will take too much break, and then you will go back to 2 hours. So ideally you should study for 8 hours, but you will never achieve this. You will keep on shifting from 2 to 16 and 16 to 2. Okay? Clear?